Hello team, how are you? I hope that you are well. So I decided to do a little webinar, and more of this stuff is going to be coming on next year. It is vital for me to make sure that the communications that I send on the check-ins are tailored to you, but I also want to keep sharing general information so that we take the most out of the time that we are here together. And so today I decided to do a webinar on meal structure for body recomp and overall health. Why? For different reasons. Not everyone in here is yet doing MyFitnessPal, or not everyone in here agrees with MyFitnessPal being the way that they will be targeting nutrition. I am a massive advocate of using MyFitnessPal or any other tracking tools just as a learning process. I have been using it for the past 20 years and I will continue using it for the foreseeable future because I truly believe in the power of these tools on education. Never with the approach of under eating or trying the best you can to eat the least calories possible, but actually from the standpoint of understanding what is it on the meals that you put in on your foods and how they affect the response of your body composition and your overall health, such as, for example, energy levels, brain clarity, energy available when it comes to training, energy available outside of training, blood glucose or levels throughout the day. So we want them to be steady so you don't have those crashes. So we don't have the crashes on energy in the day. Also the quality of foods that you put on your body. So when you go to bed, you actually manage to rest and you don't have spikes of cortisol in the middle of the night waking you up because maybe you had way too much refined sugar before bed and you didn't have enough proteins. So everything that we literally put in our body will determine our body composition, that is for sure, but of course it will determine our health. And our health will be massively linked with us being able to continue training and us being able to make progress towards what we're trying to make in here. I am always very open to my background of nutrition, my background with eating disorders, such as, for example, I suffered from anorexia when I was 14 years old, that then developed into bulimia because I was an athlete, so I just couldn't not eat. My body would just tell me, hey, give me food. So then I will push myself. Then after that, I decided to get over that, and it's when I got into nutrition. So it's been more than 20 years that I have been studying nutrition. But throughout my path in nutrition, I also make mistakes. Coming from the background of eating disorders, I then had different disorder eatings, because we know the difference between eating disorders and disorder eating. So disorder eating is when you believe in things such as fasting, ketogenic, avoiding any massive group, any of the big macronutrients groups. We know now that the macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fats. 1 second, I'm just trying to. So macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fats, and each and every single one of them is vital, and each and every single one will follow a principal role into what we're trying to do. And when we totally cut one of those groups or food groups from our diet, the body will have to use other resources, very likely hormones such as cortisol and many others, just to keep up with the fact that you're not providing the body with the right nutrition. Obviously, there are some serious complications in health that might require a specific diet that you have to follow, and that will have a lot more restrictions. But for Gen Pop, general population, overall health, and for body recomp, here is what I'm going to be explaining. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. I have prepared in here some examples of something that I shared with you last week with regards to my own nutrition, but I have also created some samples for those most of you who will very likely stick to 4 meals a day. So what we're going to cover in here is what macronutrients are, what micronutrients are, how I approach distributing my own nutrition, and how I have been educating you to do yours, the importance of prioritizing good quality of nutrients, how you structure your meals, and just the overall general feedbacks that I have based on my own journey and based on the fact that I have had 3 different nutrition courses and certifications, and all that I teach you, and the people who got the best results with me is people who was very easy to adapt to this type of nutrition that I have been telling you. Now, we now know something that is key to understand, and is that training is the stimulus that we send to the body for us to shape the body the way we want it. But the building blocks is nutrition. So if we're sending the body stimulus, but we're not giving them building blocks, unfortunately, that stimulus is not going to be represented into what you like, which is going to be defined muscles, you being lean, you being strong, you feeling healthy, you having full of energy, all of that, okay? If you if you compensate a bad diet with nutrition and a bad nutrition with training, unfortunately, you will not get the results you like. Both ways, when you overeat or when you undereat. If you overeat, unfortunately, you will be masking the muscle building in between the fats that you're also gaining. I have a clear example with Sebastian, one of my male clients, who when came to me, he would have been already fit, but the nutrition and the training will not relate one another. So he will just put on muscle, but that muscle will be packed with fat. And that's pretty much what happens to all the females who start strength training and they start saying that they feel bulky. That is pretty much that the nutrition has not been on point. And so as much as they get in muscle, they also get in muscle hidden on fat. And also happens the other corner or the other side of the coin, which is when ladies or men, but mainly ladies, kill themselves training, but they don't feed themselves properly, so the body will actually never build muscle, and you will just end up being depleted of energy, frustrated because you keep on training and you don't see the results you like, frustrated because you seem to not be able to eat or smell a cookie because you've seen that straight away you put on weight. So all of these will be targeted in another webinar, but today we're just going to be talking with regards how I want you to be approaching your nutrition. Whether you are on a food journal, whether you're just starting, whether you have already been tracking on MyFitnessPal, whether you are advanced, such as, for example, Lily, Rosalie, Ashley, Sebastian, and I can keep just having a list. And that what we try, Sean, Lisa, many of you, Tanya, and what we're trying to do with you is not only knowing a calorie target and a macro target, but making the most out of this calorie target and macro target around your day based on what you're doing. So the way that based on what you're doing the next 3 to 4 hours of your day. So the way that I approach my own nutrition is, I know that if I have my breakfast and then I need to be sitting on my desk, I will be needing some elements of nutrition that will not be the same of the elements of nutrition that I will need on my meal before going to training. Okay, and this is what I'm going to be covering here. Same happened for my meal post-training and same happened for my meal pre-bed. Okay, so let's just start in phases. Understanding what macronutrients are. So we now know that macronutrients are fats, carbs, and protein. Those are the 3 macronutrients that our body needs, and each and every single one of them will follow a very key role in our health. Carbohydrates being the main source for the brain, glycogen, that is going to be the main source of energy for the training and for the day-to-day task, how much you walk, etc. That is the main role of macronutrients, and they highly contribute fiber and vitamins such as vitamin B6. All the vitamin Bs are on the carbohydrates, and all the fibers are also on the carbohydrates. Many more vitamins. Okay. Then proteins are the building blocks, and that will build and repair muscle tissue. But it's not all build and repair tissue, whether that is muscle or what is internal tissue. Your heart, your lungs, your organs, all of those are built of protein. Your hair, your skin. So we need protein for those matters, which is building blocks to repair or build tissue. But at the same time, the protein is key when it comes to body recomp, or when it comes to regulating the blood levels on your bloodstream throughout the glucose levels on your bloodstream throughout your day, because the protein is the only macronutrient that is very metabolically active, meaning that it takes 30% of the calorie content of the protein for the body to be able to break down the protein. And so what it does is that it keeps your digestive tract busy trying to break down the protein that you have consumed, and so therefore you will be fuller for longer because your body is busy digesting. And second, it will help you to sustain more steady levels of glucose on your bloodstream. So it's not the same when you have a plate of rice, white rice on its own. You have that, you're full, and after half an hour you are hungry again, because for the body it's really easy to digest and break down those carbohydrates. If you have a plate of rice with 120 grams of cooked chicken, then it will take you a good 3 hours for you to feel hungry again. If on top of that we add fiber and we add fats, then it will take you a good 4 hours for you to feel hungry again. And that is pretty much the science of nutrition for body recomp. It's seen every time that you feed yourself as an opportunity to provide the body with the 3 macronutrients, not just with 1, with the 3. But we play with the levels of how much of the fats and the carbs and the protein is on every, no, the protein is pretty much the same. So we play with the levels of carbs and fats and the quality of fats and carbs according to what is happening on your day. Talking about the protein again, the protein is the only macronutrient that your body is not able to store anywhere. So what you eat is what your body uses, and for that reason is that we have to be a lot more strategic as to how we use the protein. Continue with the macronutrients. The third macronutrient is the fats. Fats in the past were massively vandalized. Like, everything was fat-free. And then the era of the diabetics came because everything that was fat-free was very high in sugars, but people didn't know. And so now it's the concerns of, oh my God, sugars, carbs, it's so bad, it's sugars, it's going to get me fat. And so people is in a perpetuative confusion of what you should be eating. Remember, the nutrition that we are targeting here is for people who do strength training. This is key that you understand. It's not the same the nutrition that I have to put on my body than the nutrition that my mom has to put on her body when she barely moves a finger. Even if I beg her to do, she will not walk. So her nutrition will be totally different. And everyone in here is doing strength training. And this is key for you to understand that you should not be following the diet that a marathon runner does. Or you should not be following a diet that a guru on internet that is over 40 is telling you that you should be fasting, that you should be fasting around your period. That is, let me tell you, sorry to pop your bubble, but that is fucking bullshit, especially if you do strength training. So let's just realign. 3 macronutrients. The carbohydrates get stored in the body on your liver, on your muscles as glycogen. So on your liver insulin, on your muscles as glycogen, and if you eat too many carbs overall, then it will eventually be stored on your body as fat because the surplus of calories will always get stored as fat. Second, fats, they get stored as fat. That is it. They don't get stored in the muscle, they don't get stored in the organs, they get stored in fat. And we have 3 types of fat tissue in our body, which is subcutaneous fat, visceral fat, which is the most dangerous one, which is the one that leads to inflammation problems, and then we also have fats in between the muscles, all right, in between the muscles, that people who train for performance, for example, a 100 meters sprinter will use that fat intramuscular for power, all right, but we don't want that fat because we're not here to compete. However, that fat also exists. 3 fat tissues, so 3 ways that your body stores fat in your body: subcutaneous, visceral, and intramuscular. Okay, what we do is the best we can to reduce the visceral fat, which I know how to assess if someone has visceral fat, and then if we want to get lean and defined like myself, it's all about keeping your subcutaneous fat really low. In my case, I actually have it lower than average, but I don't want it to be mean because my body was never fat, ever. Like since I was born, lean. And then I was into sport from 12 years old, and I've never been fat, never, ever. So I am maybe not a good example. What I'm trying to say is that if we want to be defined, we want to limit or reduce that intramuscular, subcutaneous fat. Anyway, I'm going on the tangents. But the protein is the only macronutrient that the body will not store anywhere else. So if you eat more protein than the one you need, your body will store the calorie content, so the extra energy, as fats, but it will not be stored somewhere. So if you are depleted of protein 2 days later, the body will use it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And this is the reason why protein is key, and this is the reason why we want to have the specific tasks or specific markers of how we want to distribute the protein in our day. Pretty much for females, but the body cannot break down more than 45 grams of protein per serving. And for male, it's 55, 10 grams more, so 55 grams of protein per serving. So if you're gonna have a massive steak at which you're having 80 grams of protein in one serving, well, the body is only going to be absorbing 40, and then those 40 grams are going to go stored as fat, unfortunately, because the body is not going to use it for what the protein is for. This is why we need to understand how the body uses the different macronutrients, and why it is important that we understand what macronutrients the body is able to store: fat and carbs. Fat gets stored as fat, carbs get stored as glycogen on the liver, as insulin, or as fat, and then proteins will have two options: being used as you eat it and be stored as fat. Okay, but it would not follow the premises of what we need the protein for. Now that we know this, and we know the three main duties. Sorry, I've lost the word in English. The three main roles of the macronutrients: fats being as the way of for hormonal health, so making sure that estrogen, progesterone, and all the different hormones that females we have are working as they should, and for men, testosterone and estrogen as it should, and also for metabolic functions, such as, for example, being able to absorb vitamin D3 or vitamin D, vitamin K, that is only fat soluble. The carbs is for our brain, physical energy, fiber, and glycogen in our muscles. Okay, and then the protein is the repairing tissues, to repair tissue, muscle tissue. So after that, we then focus on micronutrients. Micronutrients is all the vitamins and minerals that are within the choices that we make with the carbs, the proteins, and the fats. Mainly the carbs and the fats. So it's not the same having 40 grams of carbs worth in brown rice that having or in potatoes than having 40 grams of carbs worth on white bread. So or donuts, let's say, yeah. So the rice will provide us with the glycogen, but it will provide us with fibers, it will provide us with vitamin B6, it will provide us for the potassium the potatoes with potassium and magnesium, and those things that are massively equally important. And the white bread or the donuts, unfortunately, will only provide us with sugar and inflammation and all the bad things. I know they taste nice. I used to be obsessed with them when I was doing If It Fits Your Macros. This is not If It Fits Your Macros. If It Fits Your Macros means that you have a target of macros, and it didn't matter if you feed your carbs eating on brown rice or donuts. Long down the line, it actually really matters, because the inflammation that refined sugars will bring to your whole digestion tract will impair your ability to absorb the nutrients from the food. It will give you bloated, it will make you feel bloated, it will make you feel not only bloated from that meal that you have, but for the next 2 to 3 days. I used to suffer from IBS. It was because I will abuse on the refined sugars. I will abuse on not eating enough carbs. I will abuse on my diet overall. And honestly, since I have been eating the way that I have been eating in the past 3 years, my body composition, my health, my overall well-being has just massively improved. And this is what I want to communicate to you based on my experience and what I'm teaching you and what I have studied. Study was not enough. I had the theory in my head, but before I would never connect the dots until I actually put myself through this that I'm going to be showing. And this is a little bit longer than I wanted, but you can just go in parts. So, understanding that equally as important as it is knowing the macronutrients and that we need 3 of them, we also need to make sure that we make good food choices when it comes to the 3 different macronutrients. So you have to understand very clear what your sources of protein are. For example, in my case, my sources of protein is chicken breast, white fish, poultry, eggs, yogurt, Greek yogurt, lactose, whey protein. And then I will add fatty fish twice a week, and fatty meats, I'm trying my best to add it twice a week because they are equally important. So those are my sources of protein. My sources of carbs will always be potatoes, complex carbs, starchy carbs. So complex carbs, such as, for example, brown rice, whole pastas. Starchy carbs as potatoes, yam, sweet potatoes, more complex carbs, oats, and all the grains. I actually don't have many grains myself because I cannot digest them, but that is where I will look as carbs, fruits and veggies. Fruits and veggies are part of the carbs, but those are part of the fibrous carbs. So we want to have a combination, which I explain in here. Balancing 80% of the carbs coming from whole foods, complex carbs or starchy carbs, and 20% of those coming from veggies and fruits. Sometimes we want to use that 20% to give a treat on the day, but the most I limit those treats on the day, the least I crave them, and the better my digestion is working. So that continuing with the macronutrients from the food quality. Again, it's not the same, and in fact I have the example here with Sean. She comes to me with a background on if it fits your macros, restricted diets, all of these. All I did was just throw into the bin all of that bullshit of protein, bread, protein rice, protein. No, don't consume that. Have your proteins from animal sources if you're not vegan, and everything that says protein, avoid that, because that is just marketing and they don't use the best quality of proteins in that just give you digestive issues. So that is important to understanding, checking on your digestion constantly, because if you are constantly inflamed, your body is not able to absorb the nutrients and you will not see the body composition that you're looking to get. So with this, I shared last week, one second. Alright, sorry. With this being said, last week I shared my nutrition for a low calorie day. When in the past I would never think I would eat this ever and look the way I look. I will massively deplete myself. Anyway, I share my day on my 5 meals on a low calorie day. Low calorie because on the days that I do legs and I do bike, I will have around 250 grams of carbs. Everything else is the same. So what I'm saying is I share this with you. However, from everyone in here is only Sebastian, Arlie and myself who can eat this amount of food because we have trained our body to do so and because of our level of training. Most of you will stick to 4 meals, and I say 3 is not enough. Why 3 is not enough? It's been proven that in order to get the best of muscle protein synthesis, we need both servings of protein and carbohydrates spread throughout your day. And the minimum of those servings of protein should be minimum 3 servings a day. If you do 2 servings of protein, because of what I explained in the past, the protein content will have to be really high, your body will not be able to absorb it, and it's a wasted element in there. So for that reason, the minimum that we want to be targeting is 3 meals a day. Having 3 meals and 1 snack that is a structured meal. This is the reason why I push 4 meals for every single one of you. But here I'm going to be sending you the example of my meals. What I want you to be observing from here is my choices of carbohydrates. How all of them are different in my day. So if I have 1 bread meal in the morning, I will not have more bread later on the day. If I have rice for lunch, then I will have potatoes for dinner. Same happens for the proteins. I will start my morning always with eggs. Then I will have chicken, and then I will have fish. And I will have whey protein, or I will have Greek yogurt. So also I want you to pay attention to that. I want you to pay attention to my servings of fats. So I have avocados in here. If I have eggs, normally if I have 2 eggs, then I will not have avocados. But whenever we have eggs, salmons, and meat, we want to reduce the amount of fat that we have, on that meal, because the eggs, the red meat, and the salmon fish, like the fatty fish, will already have the healthy fat element that we need. I also would like you to look at, this is my pre-workout meal. So on my pre-workout meal, I, for example, have my carbs, I reduce my fats, and I have my servings of protein. I also want you to see that my servings of protein are anything between 20 to max 45. I don't exceed 45 because then I know that I'm wasting my proteins. So that is pretty much what I would like you to get out of my own nutrition. Then I did 2 examples of what your own nutrition should look like, independent of your calorie target. So this is what I would like you to understand. If you are on calories, or if you are not, then see these examples just so you start understanding how you should be structuring your meals. This is great, for example, for Mariana. Mariana, you're just starting to understand about numbers. Sofia, Alejandro, same thing. So this is what all of you, I want you to observe, whether you are tracking on MyFitnessPal or whether you are doing mindfully eating, whether you're just going through the structure of meals. I just want you to think of nutrition this way. We have 4 meals in the day. We need to make sure that if your eating window is, my eating window is from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. So I have 12 hours eating window, meaning that I will be having a meal every 4 hours or every 3 hours or more often, because I eat a lot more than you. Pretty much I have my last 2 meals almost together. because I like going to bed feeling full. That is, again, unique to my needs. And we will be targeting this unique to your needs as you get to know yourself a little bit better. Such as, for example, when on your day you feel that you can just sit down at more ease and have your meals. I, for example, like having a big breakfast, and the meals on my days will be small because I like feeling light. And then the last meal of my day, because of my insomnia, I would like to pump it up a little bit more. So that is then down to your unique needs. However, if we focus on morning training for 4 meals, this is what I am trying to show you. So you see that we have 1, 2, 3 main meals. So we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we have a pre-workout snack or a post-workout snack. This works both ways. So if you have your breakfast and you then go to training, so you will be liking to have your, one massive thing that I was missing. From carbohydrates, fibrous carbohydrates, fruits and veggies. We want to make sure that you aiming to have on your day 200 to 300 grams of fruit and 400 to 600 grams of uncooked veggies. And so the way that I want you to divide these is that you have your fruits around training time and you have your veggies which are higher in fiber outside training time. So for example, in here, if you're training in the morning, you can see that I have my proteins on the eggs and the egg whites. I have my complex carbs on my sourdough bread. I have my fruit on my breakfast, and then I will limit the fats depending on my fat target. So if you have to depend, so that is down to you. I will go to train, and then I will have this post-workout. Post-workout, I have again another element of fruit. I have another element of complex carbs. I have an element of whey protein, high digestible protein post-workout, which my body will absorb faster, and it doesn't take a lot of work for my body to break it down. Because post-workout, trust me, you are not hungry, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be eating. That pre and post-workout meal are the most important meals of your day. Most of the times we don't feel hungry post-workout as females, and we feel like, oh great, I can just carry on with my day. That is the worst thing that you can do for your hormonal profile. Why? Because you're going to be running on cortisol. When you're running on cortisol, insulin is high. When insulin is high, there is actually muscle breakdown, no muscle repair. So you want to make sure that you have that meal, even if you don't feel hungry. And it took me really long time to understand this difference that it will make. Because otherwise, the minute you have a meal later on your day, you just want to eat the world. And controlling your leptin, or your ghrelin, which is the hormone that gives you the hunger cues, will be a lot harder. And that's why in the evening you feel like, oh my God, why can I not control myself? Well, you should have target your nutrition earlier on the day. Okay? So that is it. And then on the last 2 meals outside training time, which are the farther away from training time, that is when I'm gonna actually pump my asparagus, my cucumbers, so my fibrous vegetables. But in every single meal, I will have an element of carbs, an element of protein, an element of fats. I will play with the fats later on if you are very advanced, having or trying to limit the amount of fats that you have in between training time. However, I'm pretty good at being super even on my fats, so I will only reduce it on my post-workout meal. If you train in the evening, same example here. If you train in the evening, same thing will apply, but the only thing that changed is in the morning. Instead of having your fruit in the morning, I will have my asparagus. Then I have my lunch. Then I have my pre-workout snack. Literally, it's a snack. It's oats, watermelon, the whey protein, and sweetened milk. My pre-workout or post-workout, it doesn't really matter. In this case, I make it as pre-workout, having my post-workout meal being my dinner, where I'm gonna be having making sure that around training time, sorry, I don't know if the microphone is not working. Making sure that around training time, I will have high digestible carbs, fruits, limit fats, and high digestible protein. And then outside training time, I will have my fiber, my complex carbs, my fatty options of protein if I have to, and that is as simple as it gets. Enjoy this. I'm gonna send this forward, and if you have any questions, please let me know.